Hey guys, this is Mohit. When I was in college, I wanted some real guidance on career to understand what my next step would be like. So I created this deck keeping that in mind with my experiences and some lessons I've learned after college. So why I call this at the end of a tunnel? Because the years between my third year of college and 2 years into my job, these have been pretty dark and clueless. But at the end of it, there was some clarity, and I hope that you will find that clarity too. And I, I really hope that you'll find the light and get to the path and move ahead in the chosen path by you. So let's start. So you should be looking forward to this if you're a fresh graduate seeking career guidance. You're a sophomore student, that is you're a second year student if you're preparing to face placement in your next year, and you're a pre-final year student. You're in your 3-1, 3-2. If you're thinking about higher education or job, or you're a final year student, you have a job offer, or you are looking for a job offer soon enough, or you just want to explore all the options, understand each option, and make the best suitable decision for you. Whether it's higher studies or job. So if you're watching this video, I'm pretty sure you are an engineering student or a graduate. Congratulations, you've taken the right step. You've taken the King's Gambit, in fact. The King's Gambit is familiar with someone who plays chess. What happens is, if you open your game with the pawn in front of the king, you have the maximum number of possibilities for your next move. So that is to say that you have chosen engineering, and from here you can be anything. You're open to a world full of opportunities once you graduate in India. It doesn't matter if you've taken engineering just because your parents coaxed you into, or you just didn't have any option, you just went ahead with flow. It's okay, you've done the right thing. So let's move ahead. Okay, so here's how I reached the end of it. Let me tell my story. So I was an aeronautical engineering student, at least 3-4 years back. So I was very passionate about making rockets. I wanted to study rockets. I wanted to experiment rockets all the time, and so did I. So here's my my project team. For my final year, I've created a rocket testing bench with my guides, Professor P.K. Dash and Sri Krishnan sir. Here's my graduation photo in 2017, somewhere around July. I graduated. Here's some of my friends, and I always had a passion of seafaring. That is, I wanted to be on the ocean, explore the world, and unfortunately, I had the chance to. In 2017 February, I was selected in the NSB Naval Selection Board at Vizag, and this is my team. After I got through, I was in the top list, merit list, and then I got into the Navy with a job opportunity called the Naval Architecture Department. All was good, but probably 40 days of training later, I found out that I have a problem in my eye. It's called retinal detachment, and I couldn't continue in the Navy because I'll have a blind spot once I get operated. So my officer, my governing officer, he immediately came up to me. I was a good candidate, of course, but then unfortunately luck didn't support me. My captain came up to me and said, "It's okay, man. There are so many other options in the world, and it's very alright to move ahead." I felt bad at first, but then when I understood that there was nothing I could do, I did move on. I was then formally discharged from the Navy. So I then was waiting for my placement at Tech Mahindra around September 2017. I had the fortune of meeting a wonderful team at a company called Modor Intelligence, where I was offered a part-time role. My job was in the quality department to analyze reports. So this was my team there, and I really learned so much about life and the corporate world from here. And then I moved on to Cognizant after close to, I think, 8 months of service in Modor. And at Cognizant, I stayed for another couple of months, maybe 2 or 3 months, and I didn't like it there. And I got a placement offer. I got a joining letter from Tech Mahindra. So I left Cognizant. I moved on to Tech Mahindra. And in Tech Mahindra, I met this wonderful guy, Gaurav, who was again takes me back to my college days, where he used to be my senior. I always used to meet him in my lab. He used to do some experiments, and I took a lot of learning from this guy. And he's been the same throughout my experience in Tech Mahindra, and he's been a right mentor. Life beyond college, when reality strikes. Once I got out of college, I realized a lot of things. So these are some lessons that I would want to share with you guys. First up is education and employment are becoming more and more mutually exclusive with each other. So, no matter how educated you are, the job market is different. So, you have to understand that your education and employment have very less to do. Even if you go through a job, you won't do what you've done, what you've learned in your education. So, I did realize that. And then I understood that there is no right path. When you're going through a career, there is no this is right or this is wrong. You always have to go through it. To exemplify, I'll take the story of my friend Vishal Namani, who studied with me in college. He was a good friend, and through his third year, I think final year, he realized that he doesn't want to be an engineer. He realized that he was good at art and he loved art. He wanted to do what, no matter what. So I did try to convince him. Everyone did, but then he was hell bent on being a graphic designer. So after his college, he went ahead and did his masters, and is now working as a graphic designer for a conglomerate. Another thing I've noticed is that your skills are more important than your formal education. If you have the skill, you can do better in the job. Your formal education is limited to your knowledge. You are what you can articulate, and being passionate about something doesn't mean you're good at it. Most times we fall into that trap. We think that we're good at something, but we often are not. So once you realize that you're not good at it, you have to move on and do something that you're good at, something that you can be good at. So if you can do this quick, I'm pretty sure you're going to save a lot of time. And another crucial thing that I've realized is that you're on your own for everything in your career and in life. You can't depend on your parents. You can't depend on your lecturers and teachers. Life is going to be pretty standing up on your own feet. Okay, here are some strategies to find the light. I'll explain each of them through my presentation, but here are some lessons that I've learned after college. First up, believe in yourself and be confident. Study, analyze, and position yourself in the current market scenario. Change is the only thing constant. Upskill yourself and stay relevant to the job market. Practice design thinking. I'll talk more about it. Expand your boundaries of thinking. Stop being a perfectionist and fail fast. And lastly, a campaign called Padi Hai. Self-confidence, the first step. Yes, if you believe in yourself, you can do anything. You probably would have heard of this 100 times or more. Many people would have told you about this. But then you have to realize that if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. And if you don't think that you can do it, you'll never do it. And if you're some person that you think that, hey, maybe I can't do it, maybe it's above me, you'll never be able to do it. If you do think that, okay, one day I'm going to achieve what I want to do, you will start doing it. And trust me on this, even if you go to interviews, people will not be confident about you if you're not confident on yourself. So have that first. Develop your self-confidence by doing whatever. Okay, here are some statistics. Number of students enrolled in engineering colleges across India in 2019. Just see the number. There are 880,000 people who took CSE, and 782,000 students chose mechanical engineering, and so on. So now let us look at another statistic, the share of unemployment across India in 2019. And I was surprised to see this because 16.3% of graduates and 14.2% of postgraduates and above, that is people who hold a PhD, hold the highest share among all of the other categories here. You can see that illiterate people have only share to contribute only 2% of this chart. Isn't it surprising? So what I mean to say is you have to position yourself in the market and realize the job market and act accordingly. So here's a typical student journey map. So what happens is if you're a student or a graduate, you will choose either getting a job or going through higher education. If you want to pursue higher education, you will most likely be writing GRE or GATE or PG set, and then do your MTech and MS program outside or inside India. You will continue to do a PhD if you still want to study and be a research scholar, or you will eventually get a job. If you choose the MBA path, you will write GATE or CAT or a bunch of other exams. You will go through an MBA college, and most likely you will get a job. And though there are some people who would choose entrepreneurship, and I'm telling you that India is going to be the next entrepreneurial capital of the world. So this is a very good option, most people. Nevertheless, but then people who want to get into a job, there are two options again: government and non-government. You have GATE with GATE or UPSC or so many other government exams. You can get into the government and become a public servant. And if you are in a private job, you obviously have tech and non-tech companies for engineering graduates. What if I told you you can do both of this at the same time? Yes. Welcome to the age of digital learning. With courses online, with master's programs online, which are pretty certified and authentic. You can also study. You can upskill yourself. You can do a master's course while doing a full-time job. Yes, and this can be possible because of online learning platforms like this. And edtech has disrupted the whole education ecosystem, and you can be part of it. You can grab that knowledge. You can always be that certified guy in the topic that you're interested in. In a world changing fast, upskill yourself and stay relevant to get the best opportunities possible. Now let us talk about design thinking, an approach to anything and everything. Why I call it that is because no matter where you are in your life, you're looking for a job, you're in a job, or you're attending an interview soon, or if you're a public servant in a government role, your design thinking attitude and this approach will get you the most results. Why? Because it contains of 5 simple steps that you can follow and create an idea that is very perfect, near to perfect. Okay, so empathize. First step is empathize. You have to understand what your interviewer is thinking, how your HR will be assessing you. Empathize with the problem in hand. Empathize with the customer that you are catering to. Empathize is the first step, which is very important. And then define the problem statement. Write it down. State it. Understand what the problem statement is. Problem number 1, 2, 3. Give out points. You'll understand the problem even better. Ideate and bring out ideas that will strike this problem statement and solve them in the most seamless manner. And then prototype. If you're designing a solution, you have to be able to test it first with a small scale, so that you won't encounter failures when you full out go and implement it. And then finally test it, see if it's working. If it's not, move ahead and bring up your another idea. So there are so many courses online. You can still explore design thinking on YouTube and in different platforms across the internet. I would request each one of you to go ahead and do a course on design thinking. It will help you a lot. And apply design thinking to yourself no matter which situation you are. Have you guys ever watched movies like this? Captain Fantastic, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Dead Poets Society, The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, or the amazing series Cosmos: A Space-Time Odyssey by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Okay, what these movies do is they make you experience different situations that the characters in the movie go through, and it gets you equipped with a lot of situational awareness. It also improves your emotional quotient, EQ. So what it essentially does is it teaches you empathy and makes you a better person at handling different situations that you can be in, and it also expands your boundaries of thinking. So go ahead and watch movies like this. The list goes on, and there are so many fantastic movies out there that you can watch and develop yourself. Okay, here's another point. Stop being a perfectionist. I was one back in college, and it took a really long time for me to get out of that state. And you can always be smart and fail fast instead. Smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. All of these are your metrics for setting a goal. Your goals should always be specific. They have to be measurable. They have to be achievable by you and be relevant to the current market scenario. And they have to be time bound. Instead, if you want to be a perfectionist, you can go ahead and read this and share you this PPT in the description. You have to educate yourself on how to stop being a perfectionist, because like me, it'll stop you from ever thinking that you're good enough for anything that you do in your life. And again, if you are trying to be a perfectionist, it will cost you your efficiency, because if you want to do something good, it will take some effort. And if you want to excel at something, if you want to do that task excellently, it will take exponentially high effort to do the same task excellently. But then the result, mind you, is going to be the good and excellent is most often going to be very minimal. The difference is very minimal. If you do a good job In most cases that is good enough, but if you want to do everything excellently, it will cost you a lot of time and effort. So you have to be aware of that. If you're ready to put that effort, go ahead and excel everything that you do at it. And here's another link that will explain how to fail fast and how you can progress quickly in your life, and you do not waste a lot of time on trying ideas. In fact, it is important to fail fast to progress very quickly in life. And here is a management concept I've learned in my AIM program at Tech Mahindra. This is always told by this guy who started the AIM program himself. He is Krishna Gopal. You can always go ahead and follow him on LinkedIn. He posts very interesting stuff. And his concept of padi hai goes like this: you should never hesitate to ask anyone who could potentially provide you with an answer. This is the gist of padi hai. You have to be shameless, knock the door, make that call, ask that lead, get it done. In the first stages of AIM program, we are asked to knock the door of leaders in the organization, and you have to note down some personal details about that leader. This is a very uncomfortable task, but once you go through it, you will understand that it is easy. You will get used to being shameless. That was AG's concept. So, and along the way in your career, always remember to make friends, because you will thank yourself later. They will be very useful. And I personally have thanked myself for creating a chain of friends through my experiences in different environments. And most times I was always sticking to them. I still have friends from my experiences in the Navy and Cognizant, and I've learned wonderful things from the team at Modern Intelligence. So I personally would want you guys to make friends and create fruitful relationships. And again, if you ever think of an action, think of the maximum consequence of that action, and then relate your fear and hesitation. See if your fear and hesitation are even real. You'll understand that in most cases, your consequence of that action is always very minimal, and your fear and hesitation are way above what it has to be. So finally, badi hai ki nahi? So here are some books that I've personally read and recommend over and over again. I've read all of these books more than once, and I would recommend the same for you guys. So, A Brief History of Humankind. This gives us a snapshot of the evolution of mankind, how we think, how our behaviors have evolved. Reading this, I found this book in the suggestion list of Bill Gates, way back in 2013, I suppose. And very recently, I finished reading this for the seventh time. You have to understand the amount of impact it gives you when you understand the reason behind all of our behaviors. And then 48 Laws of Power was a book I listened to. I switched to audiobooks recently, and it's been a very fun journey. Every time I go to my office, I switch on the audiobook, I listen to a chapter or two, and that one chapter each chapter is a law in 48 Laws of Power, and one law has enlightened my life. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This book has been suggested to me by my mom, and I have thanked this book many times because the principles and concepts in this book have been very relevant to my real life. The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. Now, this is a novel about a boy experiencing the world when he's out of his school in New York in 40s. So why I mention this book is because I believe that this world is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. You'll come across this term VUCA, the VUCA world, and I see students stepping out of college as reading this book, The Catcher in the Rye. So finally, I hope that you guys find the light at the end of the tunnel. Go through that dark tunnel. It will be an enriching experience, but at the end of it, you'll always find light, and you have to keep your spirits up and move ahead. So all the best, guys. Thank you.